All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something we all do every single day of our lives, learning. It seems so simple, but how it actually works, well, that's where things get really interesting. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the major ideas that explain how stuff gets from out there, in the world, and into our heads.
So you've totally been there, right? You're sitting in a class, maybe you're trying to learn a new skill, and one idea just clicks. It makes perfect sense. But the very next one, it's like hitting a brick wall. It's a feeling we all know, and the reason behind it is what we're here to explore.
Well, there's a name for the ideas that help us understand this. They're called learning theories. You can think of them as different maps, really. Each one gives us a different route to understand how we process and, actually hang on to new information. They're super important for anyone who wants to be a better teacher or, honestly, a better learner.
Okay, so to really get this, we got to start at the beginning. Let's look at the classic theories, the ones that really laid the groundwork for everything else. These first big ideas looked at learning from the outside, focusing on what we can actually see and measure.
First up is behaviorism. The core concept here is that the learner's mind is like a blank slate. So this theory isn't really worried about what you're thinking or feeling. Nope. It's all about your behavior, what you do. It says we learn by responding to our environment, specifically through something called reinforcement.
So what's this reinforcement thing all about? It's actually pretty simple. Positive reinforcement is when you add something to the mix to encourage a behavior, like giving praise or a little reward. And negative reinforcement, and this is key, it's not punishment. It's about subtracting something you don't like to get you to do something. It's all about these external cues shaping what we do.
But then, the conversation started to change. A new idea called cognitivism came along and basically said, hey, wait a second, what's going on inside our heads is a huge deal. This was a massive shift. The focus moved away from just behavior and zoomed right into our internal thought processes, how our brains actually organize and file away new info. So if you put them side by side, the difference is it's huge. Behaviorism is all about watching what someone does, which makes the learner kind of passive. But cognitivism, that's all about how we actively sort through information, which makes the learner's role way more active and important. It's a total switch from an outside-in to an inside-out view.
And that brings us to the next big leap in thinking. This is where the student, where you, step into the spotlight. Suddenly, it's not just about the information, it's about the person learning it, their background, their feelings, their needs, the whole shebang.
And this leads us right to constructivism. I love this one. The idea is that we aren't just empty buckets waiting for someone to pour knowledge into us. No way. We're more like builders. We actively construct our own understanding by taking new information and connecting it to what we already know. It's like every new thing we learn is another brick we add to our own unique building. Humanism then takes that idea and zooms out even further. It's a really learner-focused approach that looks at the whole person. It says, look, for someone to really learn and grow, their basic needs have to be met first, not just the academic ones, but the emotional ones too. It's all about creating a supportive space where people feel safe enough to truly learn. This quote just nails the heart of humanism, doesn't it? It's so optimistic. It tells you that this is more than just a learning theory, it's a whole philosophy about people. The belief is that if you create the right environment, people will naturally want to learn and grow. It's in our nature. Okay, so those are the historical heavy hitters. But what about right now? I mean, we live in this hyper-connected digital world. The way we get information has completely changed. So doesn't the way we learn have to change too? You bet it does. And that calls for a whole new theory. And here it is. It's called connectivism. People are calling this the learning theory for the 21st century, and for good reason. It's built for the world we live in now, one that recognizes that knowledge isn't just something that lives inside our own heads anymore. It lives in networks all around us. So what does that actually look like? Well, yeah, it's about using technology, but it's way deeper than that. It puts a huge emphasis on the skill of finding good information and sorting through all the noise. Knowing where to look for answers is becoming just as critical as knowing the answers themselves. Learning happens in communities and online networks, like a class working together to launch a podcast or a blog. Okay, so theory is great and all, but this is the real question, right? How does any of this stuff actually show up in the real world? Let's bring it all down to earth and see how these big ideas actually get put into practice.
You can really see how each theory leads to a totally different vibe in the classroom. If you're using behaviorism, maybe you're giving out rewards for hard work. With cognitivism, you're sparking big discussions to help students connect the dots. Humanism, that's about giving students more say in what and how they learn. And with connectivism, a huge part of your job is teaching students how to be smart, critical consumers of information online.
But there's one thing, one crucial piece that makes all of this work. You could have the most perfect lesson plan based on all these theories, but if this one thing is missing, it all falls apart. We're talking about the fuel for the engine. We're talking about motivation. And when it comes to motivation, it really boils down to two types. Intrinsic motivation is that fire inside you. You learn something just because you're dying to know more about it. Extrinsic motivation is all about the outside world. You're working for a good grade or praise or some kind of reward. The best learning experiences, they usually find a way to tap into both.
So, wow. We have been on quite a journey, right? We've gone from behaviorism and cognitivism through constructivism and humanism, all the way to connectivism. 5 really different ways of looking at learning. But at the end of the day, they are all chasing the exact same thing.
And that goal, it's as simple and as powerful as it gets. It's to unlock better ways to learn, to figure out this incredible process so that we can all find more effective, more meaningful ways to grow and understand our world.
And that kind of leaves us with this huge open question. A question for all of us, really. We've seen these theories change and evolve over time, right? Well, our world is changing faster than ever. So what's next? What does the next great learning theory look like?